Well, thank you, everyone. Quick survey before I get started today. Show of hands. How many of you are wishing already it was fall or early winter? I see almost most of you there. Yeah, it's my temperature gauge said 106 when I left the count. So that's hot.
It's hot.
That is indeed hot. I read something, and very quickly, everyone hear me okay? Test, test?
Yeah, perfect.
I read something very interesting about a week and a half ago that inspired the topic for today and the talk for today. And I wanted to start off sharing what I read here. It said this: the time has come to get clear about who you are and what you choose. And when I stopped, after I read that, and I stopped to think about it, I, of course, asked myself the question, well, who am I? And I'm not talking, spiritually or anything like that, because I think a lot of us, even as we said in our oneness prayer, we have enough of an understanding to know that we are all individualized expressions of God. We know that there is one life, that life is God's life, that life is our life. Now we know this. We know the spiritual side of this. We know the spiritual truth of who we are. But after I read that and I started wondering some more, I thought, well, who am I really? Who am I being in this world? Who am I being? And that's when something that came over me that I wanted to share with you here that kind of set me back, took me by surprise, if you will, for a moment. But I started taking inventory of my life, and I said, well, I have a podcast. Maybe I'm a podcaster. And then this small little voice somewhere in the back of my head creeped in and said, yeah, but nobody really listens to it. And then I thought, well, I've published 2 books. I'm a published author. Maybe that's who I'm being. But again, that voice creeped in and said, yeah, but you really haven't sold that many copies. And then I thought, well, I'm a speaker. I've given a bunch of talks here at Center for Spiritual Living, a couple talks at other CSLs in the country, a couple talks at UNT here in town. I thought, well, maybe I'm a speaker. And then there was that voice again. Yeah, but only a couple people have seen you on YouTube. And so as I continued taking this inventory, this feeling came over me. And that feeling was this: disappointment. I thought in that moment, oh my God, I'm a disappointment. I'm disappointed in myself. And I have to admit, that one stung. That one stung a little. Because the more I sat with that, the more I realized something. I was judging who I was. I was judging who I was being. Unbeknownst to me, I had turned my own life into a scorecard. How many people listen to your podcast? How many books have you sold? How many views or how many followers? How many downloads do you have on YouTube? How successful have you become? Where should I be at this stage of my life? And somehow, some way, I had taken that scorecard and made a judgment about not just myself, but how worthy I was. And then, in that moment, I like to say the roof of my RV opened up. The hand of God reached down and smacked me in the back of the head and said this: stop judging yourself. Start loving yourself. And I thought, well, what if? What if instead of judging myself, I just love myself? And that's really what I wanted to get into today. Stop judging yourself. Start loving yourself. And so how often, without me, I did it without even knowing it, how often does any of us here do this without even realizing it? We think to ourselves, we look in the mirror, we might think, or we just were driving our car, we might think, I'm too, what? Fill in the blank. I'm too short, I'm too tall, I'm too this, I'm too that, I'm too skinny, I'm too quiet, I'm too emotional, I'm too different. And here's one that we often hear, I'm too old. Or we add to that and we say this, I'm not enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not attractive enough. I'm not successful enough. I'm not spiritual enough, even though I go to CSL every week. I'm not accomplished enough. Oh, this one hurts. I'm not worthy enough. I'm not confident enough. I'm not happy enough. And what happens when we say these statements to ourselves? They become the truth of who we are. They become the truth of who we are being. Remember, Science of Mind teaches that consciousness, what you think and feel about yourself, does matter. What you think and feel about yourself does matter. And I had to remind myself again, stop judging. Start loving. Ernest Holmes taught this. He taught that our experience, the life that we have, follows our consciousness. You hear this all the time in Science of Mind. Change your thinking, change your life. Because if we continually say to ourselves thoughts like this, I'm behind, I'm not enough, I should have accomplished more, I'm a disappointment. If we turn our life into a scorecard like I did, where those thoughts become our reality, and we believe those thoughts, then that's who we think we are. And if any of us walk through life like this, being the person who believes that he or she is not enough, that he or she is not worthy, they're going to experience a life of that. Very different than the person who walks through life and says, I am worthy. I am loved. I am capable. I am one with God. And so that's why I wanted to take that question of this, who am I, one step further. Not just who are you, but who are you being? So I can come here every Sunday, any of us can. You've all heard this before, and say, you are whole, you are worthy, you are an individualized expression of God. There is divine intelligence within you. There is divine love within you. And we can say that here. We can say it out loud, consciously. But if any of us goes home and subconsciously tells ourselves, well, yeah, Brad, or Dale, or Chris, or Lolita, or Carol, or Myrna, any of us, you really should have done more by now. You should have more downloads. You should have more viewers. You should have more followers. Whoa! Would God ever say that? Why would God say, you are whole, you are complete, you are perfect? Why would God say that? To me, to you, to us, if God didn't mean it. See, it doesn't work that way. God doesn't say something that God doesn't mean. If there is one life which we teach here, if that life is God's life, and if that life is expressing through every one of us, then the truth of who we are is whole, perfect, and complete. But the point I realized in all of this, and the mistake that I made, gosh, has any one of us ever made a mistake? I almost judge myself again for making a mistake. But the mistake I made that I want to share with you is that I thought my whole, perfect, and complete was conditional. That it was based on my scorecard, what I achieved or didn't achieve. Because there's that voice out here, society, that says, oh, you are worthy if you sell this many books. You are worthy, you are enough if you have this much money in your bank. You are worthy, you are enough if your car is this or if your house is this. That's that voice of society that we hear. But I'm here to tell you there's a different voice. The voice of God. And so regardless, this is what God says. You are worthy in God's eyes no matter what. No matter what your scorecard says. No matter what you achieve or don't achieve. You are enough in God's eyes. Your worthiness and love, your perfection, your wholeness, your completeness, as God sees you, is not dependent, is not conditional on any scorecard. And guess who told us that exact same thing also, way before Ernest Holmes? Some guy, long hair, beard, went by the name of Jesus. I don't know, maybe you heard of him. He said, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Now this part we've heard many, many times in our upbringings and various theologies. Love your neighbor. Be compassionate, be kind, forgive, serve, blah, blah, blah. We've heard all that. But how often do we talk about as yourself? Love your neighbor as yourself. So what if I took that phrase, love your neighbor as yourself, and something I always do, I added it, and I remove the part where Jesus says, you shall and neighbor, and just simplified it to love yourself. How often do we ever talk about that in mainstream culture, mainstream society? Loving yourself. What about valuing yourself? What about appreciating and respecting yourself? Oh, what about this one? How often do we ever talk about forgive yourself? Forgive yourself. For no matter what it is. Just love yourself. Just forgive yourself. You don't even need a reason. And what if none of this is selfish? What if this is part of your practice, your spiritual path? Because self-love, remember, it's not self-admiration. It doesn't mean loving yourself. It doesn't mean believing everything you do is so grand and so wonderful. Oh yay, I have 30 followers this week on what I can't even think of a social media right now. TikTok, YouTube, because that's the one I was working on this morning. Something I realized: you can screw up, like I have many times, and still love yourself. That's called unconditional love. You can screw up really bad, say something mean or hurtful, and still forgive yourself. That's called unconditional. You are allowed to have compassion with yourself. Not just your neighbor. Yes, of course, love your neighbor, but love your neighbor as yourself. You can apologize. You can grow. You can learn. You can say, I could have handled that better, without judging yourself. It's not necessary to say, oh, I'm a disappointment. Oh, I screwed that up. Oh, I did that wrong. Just love yourself. Stop judging. Start loving. There's a difference between loving and judging. Which brings me to my next question. Who created you? Who created you, me, any of us here? And in case any of you are thinking, no, I don't mean, what happens in the bedroom. I mean, seriously, who created you? From a metaphysical standpoint. In Genesis, we are given the answer to that question. We're told that in Genesis, that humanity is made in the image and likeness of God. Now, from a science of mind perspective, what does that mean? From a science of mind perspective, it means this. If divine life expresses through me and through you, if divine intelligence expresses through me and through you, if divine love expresses through me and through you, then what exactly am I saying when I repeatedly tell myself, I'm not enough? What are you saying when you say, I'm not enough, I'm not worthy? Are you saying that God doesn't know what God's doing? Are you saying that God somehow got it wrong? Are you saying that God came up short? Now, we often say that nothing is impossible, but I think God coming up short is impossible. I think God not getting it right is impossible. Is it even possible to come up short in terms of being enough, being worthy, being deserving? So maybe it's not that the problem isn't that we're not enough, we're not worthy, any of that stuff. Maybe we just forgot who created us. And again, I'm not talking about mom and dad in the bedroom. Again, science of mind, we say this all the time. Whole, perfect, complete. But we are spiritual beings in human form. There's that human part. So that doesn't mean that our humanness is flawless. Whole, perfect, and complete doesn't mean we don't make mistakes. It doesn't mean we have it all figured out. Because every time I think I have it figured out, the sky on my trailer opens up and I get smacked on the back of the head. God says, Brad. And it doesn't mean, whole, perfect, and complete, doesn't mean your circumstances always look the way you want them to. And it doesn't mean you're whole, perfect, and complete, it doesn't mean that you have to earn it through what you achieve, what you accomplish. You don't become more divine, you don't become more whole, perfect, and complete by becoming a best-selling author. You don't become less divine, you don't become less perfect, whole, and complete by only having 3 views on YouTube. You don't become more worthy when you get promoted. You don't become less worthy when you get fired from a job. You don't become more worthy or more enoughness if somebody chooses you. And you don't become less worthy when they reject you. Circumstances of life change. Achievements change. Bodies change. Jobs change. Relationships change. Bank accounts change. But the divine truth of who you are never changes. It never changes. And another part of all of this, everything I've been saying here today, that I had to learn, and probably again the hard way because of my stubbornness, is accepting who you are for who you are in the moment. Last time I was here, Chris, she spoke about something called toxic positivity. Toxic positivity. And sometimes I think if we're on a spiritual path, this is what I thought, that we're supposed to be peace, love, joy, happiness, all these positive words, all these positive experiences. We're supposed to be this all the time. But again, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. There's that human part. We're supposed to be positive. We're supposed to be joyful. We're supposed to be centered. We're supposed to have faith. We're supposed to trust. But what happens if we're not? What happens if we get off track? So what if I'm sad today? What if I'm frustrated today? What if I'm ticked off in this moment? What if I'm agitated in this moment? What if it's a week? What if it's a month? What if it's even longer? Oh no, there's something wrong with me. I'm not being peace, love, joy. I'm not doing something right. Oh crap, there I go again. There we go again. Judgment. What if it's okay to be tired? What if it's okay to be in a bad mood? What if it's okay to just be you? And what if it's okay if you don't have to immediately turn every what we call negative emotion, uncomfortable emotion, into another spiritual self-improvement project. Oh, I've got to force myself from sadness to joy. What if you just acknowledge, this is who I am right now? This is who I'm being in the moment. And what if that was okay? If today you're feeling joyful and playful, then great. Be that. Be who you are. But what if today you're feeling moody? Okay. Then acknowledge that. Today you're being moody. But above all, just love yourself. Accept yourself for who you are being in the moment. If today you're sad, allow yourself to be sad. But love yourself anyway. If today you're frustrated, allow yourself to be frustrated. But love yourself anyway. There's no need to judge. Because loving yourself means loving yourself here and now. For who you are being here and now. Doesn't mean I'll love myself tomorrow, that you'll love yourself tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. No, it means right here, right now. Not some other version of yourself. You don't have to force the storm to move. Sometimes, like in my case, we become determined to get rid of the sadness, the fear, the frustration, the anxiety, that we judge ourselves, that we beat ourselves up. Oh, I'm depressed. What if it's okay to be depressed? What if you just loved yourself anyway? Remember, emotions change. Moods change. Experiences pass. I always like to talk about the weather here. A storm rolls in, and the thunder rolls. We don't go outside and scream at the tornado, you shouldn't be, well, maybe in Oklahoma they do. But you shouldn't be here. Of course, I did that when it was raining. I couldn't ride my electric bicycle for a while. You shouldn't rain. But the truth is, it is raining. There is a tornado. It is stormy right now. But the weather changes. Our inner beingness can be like the weather. It can change too. Sometimes on the inside there's sunshine. Sometimes there's clouds. But sometimes on the inside there's a tornado. There's a hurricane. And the most important thing I want to tell you today, it's all okay. It's okay to just be you. Accept and love yourself in the moment for who you are being. Because whoever you are being, it's okay. There's no need to judge yourself. So sometimes the best and most loving spiritual practice isn't trying to make the storm disappear, isn't trying to make the depression disappear, isn't trying to make the anxiety disappear. It's allowing ourselves to weather the storm while remembering this too shall pass. Because with all of this, there's another very important lesson. What you are experiencing in the moment, even if it's happiness or joy, sadness, anger, frustration, moodiness, bitterness, grouchiness, that's not the truth of who you are. Remember that. That's not the truth of who you are. You can be tired without declaring, I'm a tired person. You can be sad without declaring, I am sad. You can make a mistake without saying, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. You can experience fear without saying, oh, I'm not Tim, or I'm no good. And so there's a difference between saying, I'm experiencing disappointment versus I am the disappointment. There's a difference between saying I am depressed versus I am experiencing depression. One is an emotion, the other is an identity. It's who you are. It's who you are being. And what we tell ourselves who we are being becomes our reality. So the feeling, the depression, the sadness, the anxiety, it's not a verdict. It's not the end say about who you are. And this is what Science of Mind comes in and teaches us again. The condition you are experiencing is not the same as the truth of your being. Again, remember, conditions change, feelings, thoughts, circumstances all change. But something in you does not change. And that is the divine presence within you. Because underneath the depression, underneath the sadness, is what? Your divinity, your wholeness, your completeness, your worthiness. So your human experience can change what you're feeling in this particular moment, but it cannot change the truth of who you are. And so perhaps self-love could sound something like this. This is what I'm experiencing right now. I don't have to judge it. I don't have to fight it. I don't have to make it mean that something is wrong with me, that I'm not worthy, that I'm not good enough. You can just continue to love yourself unconditionally as it moves through you. Because if you only love yourself when you are happy, productive, successful, confident, joyful, peaceful, when you are spiritually centered, that's not unconditional love. That's conditional love. But if you can say to yourself, honestly and sincerely, I love myself when I'm joyful. I love myself when I'm tired. I love myself when I'm confident. I love myself when I'm uncertain. I love myself when I'm having a wonderful day. I love myself when I'm having a bad day. Now you're beginning to understand. Give yourself permission to do just that. To love yourself for who you are being. And allow life to simply move through you. Stop judging, start loving. So let's return to that spiritual message, that spiritual passage I read at the beginning that started all of this. The time has come to get clear about who you are and what you choose. Maybe the choice is this then. Do you choose to see yourself through judgment or through love? Do you choose to see yourself through all the accumulated opinions you've formed about yourself? Or do you choose to see yourself the way God sees you? Would God ever look at you and say, too old, too late, not enough, not smart enough, not attractive enough, not worthy enough, not good enough? Or is that us saying that about ourselves? What if God sees the truth underneath all of that? The wholeness, the perfection, the completion. What if you saw the truth underneath all of that? So again, I began this talk by asking, not just who are you, but who are you being? And then I continued with, can you love whoever you are being right now? Can you love yourself unconditionally? Or will it continue to be conditional? Can you love yourself when you don't have the answer, when you don't have it figured out? Can you love yourself when the inner storm is weathering? Can you love yourself while you're passing through, while the inner storm is passing through? Because transformation doesn't begin with rejecting who we are. Transformation begins when you love yourself for who you are. Enough to stop fighting yourself, stop judging yourself. So very quickly, as I begin to wrap this up here, just for a moment, think about a time in your life, the example I gave you, where I began to judge myself. Somewhere, somehow, sometime you said, I'm too this, I'm not enough that. I should have this, I should have that. Notice that. Ask, is that really the truth? Because again, as I said at the beginning, you already know the truth. You know you're not too old. You know you are good enough. You know you are worthy. You know you are deserving. That's the way God sees you. You are not your failures. You are not your mistakes. You are not the number on the scale. You are not your job title. You are not your bank account. You are not someone else's opinion of you. And you are not your opinion of yourself. Again, it's not necessary to judge. Final take-home question. What would it look like to love the person I am right now? What would that look like? It's not I'll love myself when I become joyful. It's not I'll love myself when I get over the hump. It's not I'll love myself when I'm happier. It's I'll love myself right here, right now, and allow myself to continue to grow. Ernest Holmes said this, denying love is our only problem. Denying ourselves love is the only problem. Embracing it is the only answer. Love yourself as you would love your neighbor. So next time you hear too old, too late, not enough, not worthy, any of that, from that little voice over here in the back of your head, remember, that's just judgment. That's not the truth. Come back around. Remind yourself. See yourself through the eyes of God, through the eyes of love. Whole, worthy, enough. Because from even before the time you were conceived, that's who you are. That's who you are being. As we say, remember who you are. And so it is.